Welcome to the latest edition of Chatting to a Lancashire Legend. When mentioning Lancashire Legends, I think it was inevitable that the next guest was going to be part of the series. We pinned him down in between helping charity, promoting very worthy causes on social media, and spending a bit of time in his potting shed. Ladies and gentlemen, start the car. Delighted to welcome massive friend of the club, David Bumble Lloyd. Bumble, how you doing, pal?
Well, we're managing, we're surviving. We're just wondering whether there's light at the end of the tunnel. These rumours about there's going to be cricket. Is there going to be cricket? When is there going to be cricket? And so we're just waiting sort of daily for what is it, that update from that fella that runs the job, and just to tell us what's what. So the weather's been absolutely gorgeous, and it's sod's law. If it's a massive if we do get back to cricket, it'll obviously be pouring down.
Absolutely. And you know what? The lads we've spoken to over the last eight weeks or so have said it is sod's law that it's beautiful out there. I think it's about 24 degrees. I've never known a summer where we've had a start like this.
No, it's been absolutely fantastic throughout April and May. And when you think back, sort of January, February, March, it was like a bog. And so the groundsmen, the ground staff, they'll be absolutely raring to go. They should have good pitches if we get back on.
But we're 8 weeks into this isolation now, Bumble. You know, you're like me. I've hardly been out. I've not been out much. Managed to get a bit of golfing. Over these 8 weeks, have you learned any new skills, or have you got any new hobbies that you can share with us?
Well, I like a bit of DIY,
right.
And we've been decorating, and I enjoy it actually. I like the challenge of decorating and sort of wallpapering. How do you actually get around the corner, and then getting? If I'm doing anything, I've got to have the proper tackle. If I'm out in the garden, I want stuff that like got good engines. I want a petrol that'll do this and do that. Yeah. And I'm the same like with decorating it. And so to get up into the big bits, I've got a long pole. You get them off the internet with an attachment on the end, which takes a paintbrush, and the paintbrush is angled, so you just go along the top, and you don't need any masking tape or anything. You just go all the way along the top and go back. You've got to be a bit patient with it, but it works. So that does the top bit up to the ceiling, and so if we're emulsioning, put 2 or 3 coats on, and then wallpapering, which we've damn near done the house. I've got the little lav downstairs. We've decided we're going to do the little lav downstairs. We're going to change that, but it's only 2 rolls, is that?
So that's a player, a captain, a coach, an umpire, an international manager, media work, and now a decorator as well. Is there any end to these talents or what?
Well, I love gardening. Wait till we get onto the greenhouse. And you mentioned my shed. I mean, we lived at a house. We moved around a little bit, but when I were in Cheadle, 1, 2, 3, 4. With 5 sheds. I have 5 sheds. 5 sheds in Cheadle. Here, I've only got 2. But. And I've got a greenhouse here, which I like my greenhouse. And one of my lads, he's a gardener, he's a cracking lad, Stephen. And he's a self-employed gardener. And he grows everything from seed, from tiny. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. And we get trays full of stuff, flowers. And you bring them on, pot them up. Then they go out, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So I like that aspect of gardening. And compost. I'm a big one for compost. I love a bit of good compost.
You're a Lancashire lad. Every Lancashire lad loves compost.
Yeah, I love compost. I reckon I could have got, that last of the summer wine, I could have got a part in that.
There's no doubt about it. You'd have been perfect on that.
But my wife Diana's always saying, smarten yourself up, for goodness sake. Yeah. I'm all right. What's up with you?
I think you look the part in that potting shed when you come in and out of that potting shed. I think you look the part. What was he called? That bloke in Last of the Summer Wine?
Compo.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows it. It's like the naughty step as well. You've got to go in there if you've been a bit naughty.
I can imagine Diana getting that one onto you. Get in that shed for half an hour. You're doing me head in.
I'll tell you one of my best mates. He's moved out the area, which is a bit sad, and he's gone down to Sidmouth.
Right.
Very, very, very thirsty he was. Very, very thirsty. And this Christmas time, this is about the shed. At Christmas time, they've got the kids, grandchildren, and he's nipped out. He's nipped out the pub. And Grandma says, Grandad will be home soon. He won't be very long. Oh, here he comes. The taxi's drawing up now. The back door opened. He fell out, banged his head on the pavement. And she said, right, get in the shed. And he was in there for 4 hours with a garden gnome. And he thought this garden gnome were real. He started talking to it. Where's Grandad? Oh, he's with the gnome. In the shed, 4 hours he were in.
No wonder he's moved down to Sidmouth.
It's Sidmouth. He's got a card shop in Sidmouth, a greeting card shop. Yeah.
You know what? We better talk about some cricket because we can talk about an hour. We won't touch on cricket. Right. You're synonymous with the Red Rose, and you played in some fantastic eras. Probably one of the stellar eras of Lancashire cricket. In the 60s, in the 70s. Tell us what it was like being around Old Trafford, being a Lancashire player at that time, and with the characters, obviously, that you played with.
Well, I mean, the place changes, and when you look at it now, Emirates Old Trafford is now, without argument, a world-class venue. It stands up there with all the great cricket grounds. Of course, it's got all the nostalgia. It's got all the history going back through the ages with the club, all the great players that have played there. But when you turned up as a lad, and you will know this, every player will know what I mean when I say this, that every winter you're away and you turn up, maybe April 1st, something like that, it's just the smell of the place. It's just the smell of the dressing rooms. And then there's somebody like oiling a bat or doing a bit of whitewashing in the pads and so on. It's the smell, it's the getting ready. It's the camaraderie. It's the friendships that you make. And make no mistake that you and I know there's flaming heartaches as well. There's real tough times. You get through your tough times because of your teammates. You know, you're like a band of brothers. And so in your formative years as a lad, just as a teenager, they knock you into shape. Your senior players knock you into shape. And you revere these fellas, and you've got great respect for them, because the other thing, and I can talk about Brian Statham's my first captain, and he wasn't a demonstrative chap, very thirsty chap, liked a gin. He liked a glass of gin, didn't Skipper? But Jeff Puller was like England opening left-handed batsman. Now Jeff Puller would know. Here's this likely lad from Accrington. Jeff Puller would know that this lad, he'll get my job eventually. Yeah. But he helps you along the way. He shows you the ropes. Yeah. And if you step out of line, you get a clip round the ear. Yeah. And it's a hand-me-down, is that. I know that it's a hand-me-down. My lad who played, and you play with him, he said exactly the same about Fowler and Allen. He said he used to knock him down, and he didn't like him. But they just help with your formative years of being handed down, like you behave yourself here. We've got a tradition. And that tradition, of course, is the Red Rose.
Absolutely. Bang on what you say there. And that smell of coming back to Old Trafford, it stays me forever. It stays with me forever, and I work there. But you mentioned being respected and being revered as a senior player, and we had someone on the Legends chat a couple of weeks ago, Yozza, who, when we were young kids, he was revered. You play with him.
Yeah.
Now I love him to pieces. I love his company. We giggle and we go through old times, but I know exactly where you're coming from with yours. Yeah,
well, a great mate. I mean, a terrific lad. And again, like, I was bowling not very well left arm spin. That's what got me on the staff. And then David Hughes came, and he were better than me, so he took over that side of things. And of course, Simmons and Hughes were the spin twins at Lancs. And they won't mind me saying that they didn't spin many. They went. I was in the game with Ozzy, I was in the game at leg slip. Just the one that drifts on a bit. But they were brilliant blokes. And David Hughes eventually became captain of the club, and he moved from a number 8, number 9 to a number 4, number 5. He became a manager of the club or coach of the club. And he reminds me so much of Paul Allott, an organiser. Loves organising stuff. He wants to get involved. Yeah. And Allott's just the same. And they both be the same. The pair of them, the bark's worse than the bite. They'll bark a bit, but, just calm yourself down, lad. Calm yourself down.
But that era, Bumble, that late 60s, early 70s era with that team that you were in must have been a real special time to be around Lancashire cricket, and obviously headed and captained by Bondi. What your memories of Jack?
Yeah, well, Jack, he was a wonderful man manager. He'd sort of hung on by the skin of his teeth as a player at the club. And Brian Statham retired, and they needed a new captain. They looked everywhere. They tried everywhere. And eventually, we'll give it to Jack. But don't forget, your committee would be 12 blokes. And, I think they've probably all gone now. But these were blokes who were just on business down in Manchester. And they were salt of the earth lads. But they were known as the sharp end. The committee's the sharp end. Because if you were lucky, you got a 2-year contract. And these blokes were deciding who gets a 2-year contract. And they were blokes who worked down in the city. They were industrialists. They were brewers. And they decide who'd sort of get a contract. So we were always a little bit wary of that end. Yeah. Not more so than Peter Lever. Peter Lever, fantastic bowler for England and Lanc. And he was our shop steward. And
imagine that.
He was like Arthur Scargill. It really was. We had, at a time, we had 3 of them. And our captain, I like Piggy in the middle here, and scratching my head and thinking, crikey, what are we going to do here? There were Pete Lever, Barry Wood, and Frank Hayes. And they were going to go on strike. And it were like at the miners and so on. And but they were great times. We learned a lot. We had a lot of fun. You mentioned the team, and Jack Bond, he formed a team. Jack, he just so unselfish, and he formed the team. And if we were in the, he'd get up there. He'd sort of sort it out at 4 or 5. But if we were sailing, if we're absolutely on top, he'd go down at number 9 out of the way. So he was a wonderful man, a great mentor to all of us, every one of them. You won't, in cricket, you'll always think, he's a good bloke, but you never get a but with Jack Bond, never. Oh. He was a great fella.
That's lovely to hear, and I look at that team, and one person with 2 overseas players at the time, not just great players, but top ambassadors of our club, even to this day.
Yeah, both of them, Farouk Engineer and Clive Lloyd. It's funny that we're chatting away here. Radio Northampton, this week, Radio Northampton, they were looking for sporting events. 1976 Gillette Cup final, Northants versus Lancashire. Now, we've been 6 in 7 years down to Lloyd's for the final.
Wow.
And I'm captain of this year. Yeah, that's it. We won in 75. We're playing Northants, and they're doing a thing on Radio Northants. They got Pete Willie on and a couple of other guys. And they're building this up, that Lancashire, raging favourites, the greatest one-day team. 1976, we were on the turn. We were just the wrong side. Yeah. The sell-by date, we'd just gone. And so I've done my research on this game. Clive's not playing. He's on West Indies tour duty. So we know Clive.
Wow.
Farouk, who you've just mentioned, he comes to me. He says, in the final, I will open the batting. Well, hang on a bit. I said, well, I open, usually. No. He said, I will open the batting against Dr. Dye, the Queen of Seam. They had a bloke called John Dye, and he had a full Bobby Charlton. He used to It used to flop all over.
Big comb over.
That's it, a real massive comb over, which used to flop in the wind. And he had the longest run you've ever seen, and he was one of the slowest left-arm seamers. Farouk says, I want to open the batting, I will lift this man. I said, what do you mean you'll lift it? I will lift him. I'll lift him into the pavilion. So we decide a cunning plan. It was like Baldrick this. Farouk's opening, I'll go 5. I'll go down at 5. Because tactically, they got Beddy. They got Beddy, so I'll look after Beddy. Right. Farouk, he's back in the shed after about 3 overs. And he come out with some expletive, which I won't do, about Dr. Di, Queen of Seam. I said, what happened there then? He said, he bowled when I wasn't ready. He's not ready. He's run about 40 yards. He said, I wasn't ready. And he bowled him through his legs. And they won the game. So no, in fact, they're saying that raging favourites about this game are the greatest thing. I looked at their side. We've no Clive. They've got 3 world-class overseas players. 3 world-class. Sarfraz Nawaz, opening bowler for Pakistan. Bisham Bedi, one of the greatest spin bowlers that's ever lived. And one of the best batsmen, captain, and Mushtaq Mohammed at number 3.
Wow.
They've got Peter Willey, they've got David Steele, they've got Roy Virgin, they've got a fantastic side. And they're telling me that, you know, we've done damn well to get to the final. Never mind. Anyway, they beat us anyway.
But you had some great days there with that team. Like you say, you were there 16, 7 years. Lords must have been like a second home to Old Trafford at that time to you.
I mean, you as a team, when you lads were playing together, you'd have your little quirks. And with being 6 in 7, and Jack started it, Bondi started it, that we stayed at the hotel just on Edgware Road, and it's only 200 yards away, a couple hundred yards, called the Clarendon Court, it was called.
Yeah.
And so we all had Lancashire blazers. You've all got your Lancashire blazer. And Jack would have us say 9 o'clock in reception, 9 o'clock. Right, we're off to the ground. And we would walk to the ground because all the kit were there the day before. And we would walk through the Grace Gates as the crowd were developing, as a team, as a unit.
Really?
Here they go. And you could tell the buzz down that, what is it, Finchley Road, wherever it is. You could tell the buzz, here comes the team. Here's the Lancashire team. And you just walk in, like, and there were no like smiling or anything. You get your game head on. And I reckon that it's worth another man that, because the Oppo know exactly where you are. They're coming in through the Grace Gates, the team.
Incredible. You mentioned that era that we played in that 90s. You know, that 90s team, and we were there virtually every year as well, and we did exactly the same as that. It must have been a tradition that had been passed on from years ago, to walk to the ground. And you know what, Bumble, now, having finished and having done what we've done in our career, the feeling of walking through those great gates, it's hairs on the back of your neck kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Great players and the great games and the great history that's been on that ground.
Well, it's even, I mean, Lloyd's is obviously a special place, but come back to Emirates Old Trafford, and one of my best mates is Albert, and he's given me, whether he should or shouldn't, I can get in. I've got a pass.
Yeah.
And I don't outstay me welcome, but every now and again, I'll go in the changing room. Just go in. And you pick your time, you pick your time when they're out in the field, or when it's not kicking off. I mean, if it's kicking off, they could kick off on their own. We've all kicked off. So you pick your time, and there's something, like you said, hairs on the back of your head, and you look round at the present day players. I look at Alex Davies, and I look at young Jonesy, and I look at Liam Livingston. I look at Tom Bailey, Graham Onions, elder statesman, and think, crikey, Joe, playing here, you lucky lads. It's a great place, it is. And then Chappie's there in the corner. And I've never gone in there and Chappie hasn't had a brew in his hand. I've never.
He wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have made a brew. Someone else made it brew.
Well, Mark will have made it, dressing room lad. Mark will have done it. So, and Rooster will be there. and with all your aches and pains, and he'll look at me and he said, "You should be put down, you. You've no muscles. Where's your muscles in your legs?" Yeah. So it's just a great time, and it's a brilliant time for these lads. And I've got to tell you about Livy. I mean, I love Livy. Livy and Little Al. Little Alex Davis. He's a firecracker. The real firecracker, Alex.
Firecracker. Yeah.
So I walk in, and Livy's there, and it's a cracking day. Fantastic pitch. So Livy says, "Hey," he says, "tell that lad of yours umpiring, tell that lad," he said, "if a ball pitches outside off stump and you're playing a shot and it hits you on the pad, you can't be out, LBW." So I went straight back at him. I said, "You mean to tell me, out there in the middle, you've been hit on the pad?" I said, "You should be able to play out there with no pads on." I said, "It don't go off the straight. What do you mean you've got hit on the pad? There's nobody move on off the straight for 3 years out there." I said, "Use your bat, lad," and walked out.
Livy had been mentioning something under his breath. He'd have been coming back at you.
No, I wanted to come back with something. Of course he would. Of course he would.
That dressing room banter, and talking of dressing rooms, Bumble, you weren't just a player, and you were coach at Lancashire. You know, you went back to your boyhood club, and you were gaffer, and then you moved on to greater things. Let's talk about your coaching career for a little while.
Yeah, well, I've done all my coaching badges when I was playing, so I've done all them at Lillishall with the National Cricket Association, and I came out of that pretty well. And then Mickey Stewart were England coach, and he used to ring up from time to time, and it's a sort of non-payment job that we'd like you to take the under-14s, under-15s. There's going to be a festival at Arundel School or in Oxford. We want you to just go down and report back and all that sort of thing. You're doing reports on individual players. And then I got more official with England schools, as there's a transition between the schools being in charge of it and it moving over to the National Cricket Association or Test and County Cricket Board. So you had a professional outlook on looking and assessing young players. And so the coaching was always along there. Then I got involved with England under-19s abroad. That was lively. We had some lively lads on there. Andrew Flintoff, Marcus Truscotty, Anthony McGrath, Vikram Solanki, Anurag Singh, cracking bunch of lads. Yeah. Alex Morris, he lost all his kit. He hadn't been there a week. Alex Morris from Yorkshire, went down to Hampshire. And his dad had a #1 hit. His dad was #1 in the hit parade, Alex Morris's dad. And he was, his name will come to me, he won't call Morris, but his song were called "When Will You Be Mine?" And he was a one-hit wonder. Alex Morris's dad had a #1 in the hit parade hit, one-hit wonder, "When Will You Be Mine?" Lance Fortune.
No one in the world would know that, would they?
Lance Fortune he's called. Or that was his stage name, Lance Fortune. So, and then to move into Lancashire was great. I had my own ideas. I'd had a good grounding, and I mean, you'll remember I had all them notices around the wall. And Pete Merron did them. Groundsman Pete Merron. I said, "I want these, Pete." And like within a week, we had all these inspirational signs all around the ground. Now it either works or it don't work. It might only work for one. But if it works, it works. So we had different ideas, and I've always thought that in the way that I did the job anyway, I'm there to support the captain. I'm there to facilitate for the captain. Captain runs the show. I'll never forget, I were on the balcony, wrong way around, and Winker's captain. And I'm on the balcony. It's a tight match, is this? So it must have been a one-day game. And he's got to move. So I stood on the balcony shouting to Winker, move him round a bit. You can imagine the volley that I got from the middle. "Why don't you?" And everybody on the ground heard it. So that was probably the only time. Yeah. And I thought I was whispering to it, Winker. So you're there to facilitate for the captain, to organise, and if anybody wants anything, you're there. I'd expect at that level, at county level, they know how to hold a bat and how to hold a ball.
For sure.
And the way that I've always seen it is that players, teams police themselves. You know, they go to a mate. They go to a mate. Have you noticed? You just do this, do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always said that as well. When you get to that level, it's about working out for yourself and watching your peers. But Bumble, you must have done a good job, because you went one step further and you became England gaffer as well.
Yeah, that was good. I really enjoyed that. It was not the greatest time to be England coach, to be honest. Neither was it for Raymond Illingworth or Mickey Stewart or Keith Fletcher, because there was no money. You didn't have any money. And the players would see playing for England as the icing on the cake. I'm actually a county player. Oh, I've got picked for England. That's brilliant. Yeah. Whereas now they are England cricketers and they're paid accordingly. And, you know, if you played for England back in that time, you got your Lancashire salary and a bit on top. If you played for England, you got a top up. Yeah, and so from a coaching viewpoint, if we had a test match starting Thursday, the players, if you're lucky, would turn up on a Tuesday, and they'll have just finished playing around the county matches. And so you've got to look and manage their workload. You've got to manage a player's workload. So in 2000, central contracts came in, and you see, just look at Jimmy Anderson, and that is the beauty of central contracts. Jimmy Anderson, 37 years of age, fit as a fiddle. He gets an injury. I'm not talking about that. His general fitness and ready to rock. He is managed, carefully managed. And there'll be times when Jimmy will say, I want to play. I'm fit to play. I'm all right to it. But somebody will say, hang on. No. You're in the red zone. You back off. He's 37 years of age and he can play easily till he's 40.
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. And as a gaffer, and as a Lancashire lad, and as an Accrington lad, you've always worn your heart on the sleeve, and you've got that fighting spirit inside you. And that occasion that we've giggled at before, when you've blown up at people, especially the Zimbabwe game. And I remember one episode in the dressing room at Sydney when you were the Ashes, and Alan Mullally's got a bit of a kick in. Can you remember that?
Yeah, it did. It was one of them Bose sound systems, and it was the nearest thing at the time.
I wondered if you remember that, because
definitely.
Brilliant. Just talk us through them days.
And I reckon that's the time when we were in the final of a tri-series. We've done brilliantly, and we are walking it, absolutely walking it. And somehow we lost. Somehow we just capitulated and lost. And I'm beside myself. And I finished up. I said, right, everyone, sit down, everyone. I said, when I'm at Lancashire, I've got Martin, Chappell, Austin, Akram, Yates. Look what I've got now. Look at what I've got now. But I mean, that's people will. If you played sport and you're in a changing room, that's it. And you must have been part of that when at Derby we played the last match of the game at the season at Derby. We're playing Derby, and no disrespect, we're playing Derby. And I hadn't noticed that we're fourth. And whatever happened in this game, we couldn't go third and we couldn't go fifth. We're stuck at fourth. Yeah. And the lads, they've treated this like a party. And they're all gigged. And anyway, we lose. Last game of the season.
We got stuffed, Bumble.
Got by Derbyshire. And we've got this star-studded outfit, and we've been turned over. And I'll never forget it. Got them all sat down again, all the coffins, and you couldn't care less, none of you. I said, so this is him. I'll call myself Joe Muggins, but I call myself something else, Joe something else. I said, this is him. I've got to go in to that AGM November and explain that. I've got to explain that. Derby. Got beat by, not you, got beat by Derby.
You were crimson. I remember your face was crimson.
I said, "Oh, I'll see it. I'll see any of you till next April." And Diana had bought me a lovely check Gap shirt. Lovely. And I put it on, and I'm in front of the mirror, everything's dead quiet. And I knew there's something happening. And I'm fastening my button, and just a thread, it just come off in my hand. The second button, just on a thread, come off in my hand. All the buttons went. So I thought, I'm not rising to this. I ain't rising. So I've got about 8 buttons in my hand, and I put them in my pocket. And there's somebody snipped my pockets and all. So all these buttons now bouncing on the floor. So I pick my buttons up and turn round looking in this mirror, and everybody's got the coffin lid up like that. And I could see it, everybody's laughing. I said, right, I'm on my way home. I said, this is random. There's just one of you, going to get 5 ton of quick drying cement outside your house by the time you get back. So I'm on my way home and in my shirt that's wide open and no buttons. And I get this phone call with a muffled voice. You need to be looking in Didsbury. It turned out it was Atherton.
It was Atherton. It was Atherton.
Yeah. Nobody in a million years would think it was Atherton, but he was as bad as anybody.
Oh,
do you remember when Atherton knocked all the shower heads off at Derby?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and
that game when Corky beat us, when Corky he tucked into Oscar.
Yeah, he did.
And Atherton knocked all shower heads off, and then we got a bill for all new showers.
I do remember it. Remember it. Those days. I mean, I love those days. Those days because we had a tight knit unit, and we, like you say, we laughed together, we cried together, we shouted at each other. But that day, I remember laughing into my towel. You know them little towels you used to get at Derby.
Like
your mum's tea towel to dry out. I had my face into this towel when your buttons kept coming off.
Everybody was killing themselves laughing. I'll give you another. Nobody knows this. It doesn't matter. Nobody knows this. When I was Lanky coach, Jason Gallion, he had I thought he had a little bit of a problem with lifestyle.
Just a little.
So I said, Gal, well, come on, we'll go out. I want to have a chat. Let's have a chat. I said, I want to get away from the ground. I said, just have a chat with you. Because his dad, Ray, were a lively fella and all. Top player, Gallion, but damn good player.
Very good player.
So, in our wisdom, or in my wisdom, I took him to TGI Fridays, just up the road, which is lively to say the least. And the upshot of this was, I'll cut a long story short, I'm talking to him about lifestyle and settling the bill for 57 flaming sambucas. You
couldn't bring up lifestyle after that.
No, just carry on, Gal. Carry on, Gal. It's okay.
Brilliant. Great times on your cricketing career as a player. Let's not forget umpiring and your coaching as well. Look at me, I've got my screwdriver. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. What you been doing, mending?
I've been putting some more screws into a couple of shelves in the cupboards. It's desperate times, isn't it?
Shelving. Yeah.
Desperate.
Get good roll plugs in. You need good roll plugs.
Got him. I've worked it out. I've actually done a bit of DIY myself, Paul. I'm quite impressed with bit my work. Yeah. We're getting off the subject now. We're talking about all this stuff and what we've done, and you've done everything in cricket, and then you've moved on to the media side with Sky, and you're now synonymous with that Lancashire voice, your knowledge on both the old game and the new game. That must be something about your life that's very special to you as well.
Yeah, it is. It's always good to have that, how it used to be. But don't fall into the trap of my day. You don't want any of that. It's all about right now. You know, I'm on record in sort of 50 odd years that I've been involved. I don't think it's ever been better than it is now. I think it's a real vibrant game, men and women. I think that the players have taken great strides, the fitness levels, the management of the players is miles better. And so the product that you're getting, particularly at international level, is box office. You know, you just look at the games that are played, whether it be T20 or World Cups, world-class players around the world. Some special players knocking about, and some special bowlers as well. There's some big bowlers, and they're quick enough. There's always that debate, you know, with it quicker back in the day. You don't know. Nobody will ever know. You're quick in your era. It's as simple as that. But you wouldn't class Jimmy Anderson as a fast bowler. But he gets folk out. He knows how to get people out, and he's got great knowledge. With Jimmy Anderson, I'd said he started off as Banksy. You know, the fella that does all the graffiti.
The artworky stuff, yeah.
Really good, Banksy. He's finished up a Rembrandt.
Yeah.
He is one of the masters. He's one of the great masters. I'm never tired of watching him. And I like his grumpiness, Jim. It's game on. I don't care who I'm playing against. He's never lost Burnley. He's never, ever lost Burnley, chipping away at him. And, you know,
it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic. So the game is in great shape as far as the players are concerned. Obviously, this virus has knocked us sideways, but we will come through this. But for men and women's cricket, and just to get back to broadcasting, or to mention something, to anybody that would say, what do you mean it's more vibrant than it was? I'll tell you why. Because broadcasters are queuing up to get into cricket. They're spending billions of pounds on cricket around the world.
Yeah.
They ain't some benevolent society. They recognise the product. We can argue that there's far too much cricket, which I think there is, but these broadcasters are scrapping like mad to get a piece of cricket. Yeah. They really are.
And I really enjoy it, Bumble. I really enjoy listening to your colleagues, and the majority of them now, I suppose, are former players who have been there, are tested in that situation, know what players are thinking about from different areas, and the likes of Nasser Hussain, Mike Arvidsson, Rob Key, Wardy, yourself, you know, Beefy, a couple last year. It's always great for cricket lovers to get that insight into how cricketers are feeling.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like on television, you tend to get, by and large, you'll get the ex-players. Yeah. On radio, it's vitally important. On radio, I think it's vitally important that you have a journalistic lead. Yeah. You've got a good talker, a good voice, but a journalist. I think that is very, very important, because I worked on Test Match Special for a good number of years. And it was always that the lead commentator, the descriptive guy, Brian Johnston, Don Morsey, Christopher Martin Jenkins, Henry Blofeld, they were journalists, and they were descriptive. And then they're not, you know, as it is now, like Michael Vaughan, Philip Tufnell, Graham Swan, they're the summariser. Yeah. So Simon Mann, Jonathan Agnew, journalists. Yeah. I know Aggers played cricket, but he's cut his teeth as a journalist. They're the leads, and the other guys on radio are the summarisers. Yeah. But on TV, you tend to get the player commentators.
Yeah. And they're good, Bumble. These
guys,
yeah,
all right. Yeah, it's a totally different discipline. I mean, in without boring you rigid, in television broadcasting, there's the game. So I'm sat here looking out of a big window. There's the game. Yeah. I don't watch that. I can't watch that. I'm watching a monitor, which is going into everybody's house. So I've got to describe what's on the monitor. So I'm listening in my ear to the director, to which camera he's going to. And in this here's the producer telling the director which camera he wants to go to. So there's a totally different discipline. when you're doing, when you're doing television. There's the game. You could glance at the game, but the business is this monitor, because that's going into the house. And so you describe what's on that monitor, but I know what's coming, and I can press a switch and just say to the director, "Give me third slip. Give me a shot of all the slips. Give me a shot of third man." And then the camera goes to third man, and I chip in with what I want to say.
That's a fascinating insight into that side of cricket that people hopefully listening won't know about. So yeah, it's great. It's great to know about Bumble, and like you say, we talk for 45 minutes. We chat to 45 minutes about your life. You're always going to be a part of Old Trafford, Emirates Old Trafford, and Lancashire cricket. And without saying that you're welcome at the ground anytime you're about for that tea with Chappie, or you can make it with Chappie, like you said. But just, we probably finish on a positive note of keeping everyone safe, and hopefully you'll see people.
Yeah, it is. It's that keep safe, do the right thing. As the Prime Minister says, wash your hands.
I can see you as Prime Minister. I think I'd like that.
Hey, don't get me going. Don't get me going now.
David Lloyd, brilliant to speak to you. Bumble, it's been brilliant as usual, mate, to catch up. Hope Diana as well. Hope you're keeping safe. Looking forward to sitting on that balcony having a brew at some stage, hopefully this year. Who knows?
Catch you soon, Warren.
Thank you, Bumble.